Hello, it's Anand here and welcome to my channel, and if you're returning back, welcome back. So today I'm going to talk about the beauty of reframing. And what do I mean by reframing? So it differs a little from, say, mindset. So a mindset might be that a person has a negative mindset, or they look at the world through a particular lens in their mind. So like it's always bad or always good, or so that's a mindset. And it can be a little more fixed, but it can be changed. Reframing looks at our thoughts and emotions, and we can change those at any point in time. And they can create our mindset, but they're like the first element. And before I go into talking about that a little more, I want to share a very funny but really enlightening story for me anyway, that helped me deepen my understanding about reframing. So I like to listen to the Osho radio. So Osho gives talks. And if you're not sure who Osho is, that's Osho. He was an Indian mystic, created Osho active meditations, did a lot of talks. I'm very passionate about his work, and he does a lot of talks that are turned into books. So there's a link down below that you can explore a bit more. But in this talk he was giving, he talked about how in a particular test he was top of the class. And another boy was bottom of the class. And in this talk he's talking about comparison. And he's talking about how it's not helpful to compare. And I did actually talk about this in another video that you can check out. And after the test was over, the boy who scored the lowest was really very sad about it, as anyone would be. And he was very downcast. And Osho, he was called Bhagwan, I think then, or actually I don't know what name he was as a child. He went over to the boy and said, about that he couldn't be beaten, whereas even though he's top of the class, he could be beaten. So he kind of flipped it around by saying no one can score lower than the lowest. He says, I can't go lower than you. I can't beat you. So he just literally flipped it around. He said, but someone can beat me. Someone can do better than me. And in the talk, he said the boy laughed. And I laughed a lot. And the reason I laughed a lot was when I was about 9 or 10, I went to a particular school, pretty bad experience, to be honest. I was bullied, and I had a particular teacher who really wasn't a teacher, but what do you know at 8 or 9? And he used to do these speedy tests. So you had to do 30 questions in 30 seconds or 30 minutes. So 1 minute per question. And they were complicated maths. I certainly couldn't understand them. Maths is not my strength. I always scored 0. And it was humiliating. And what compounded the humiliation was that the teacher would bring me up in front of the class and berate me for doing badly, and then he would hit me. So this was at a time when corporal punishment was allowed, where teachers could slap children. And it was awful. It was absolutely awful, and very humiliating. And I was the bottom of the class. I was a complete failure. And I carried this thought of, I'm stupid and I'm a failure. So when I heard that story, I also laughed, because I was there with that boy who was the bottom of the class. I knew how he felt. And I'd share that story to illustrate how the thoughts that we can have may not be true. So I'm going to use this thought that I had, I'm stupid. I carried that for a very, very long time and just was convinced that I was stupid, and I limited my chances. So to illustrate this, I did a little diagram, right, of this sort of chart. So hopefully you could see it there. I know I could do fancy graphics, but I don't really want to. I wanted to draw it. So here at the bottom is my belief. So let's call it a low note. I had this belief, I'm stupid, I'm thick. Okay, so take that 9-year-old child who says that because her teacher told her, and the class knew about it because he humiliated me. So they all called me stupid, because kids do that, they're afraid they don't want to be the one that's going to be called stupid, so they're going to join in on the humiliation. And then thereafter, my experiences kept reiterating that I'm stupid, or at least I was told that. Thing is, was that true? So if we look at the next step of this sort of notes I have here, so the background. What was going on for me when I was 9? Well, I can tell you, aside from being bullied, I had a lot of trauma going on in my home life. I don't want to go into it, but it was difficult. And if you know anything about trauma, or if you know anything about how it impacts the mind, there's a really good book called The Body Keeps Score, and it talks extensively on various studies on how trauma affects the brain. You literally cannot think or learn. It's really, really hard. So the irony was that in that class, so I was stupid at maths. Also, this teacher used to get me to read in front of everyone in the class, and he would, and I would I'd freeze, and I couldn't read. I couldn't see the words. They would move around on the page, and so I was stupid at reading. I was deemed stupid at reading. But at home, I had this great big encyclopedia that was really difficult to read, and I would read. I mean, I loved reading, and I actually kind of taught myself to read. I'd see 2 words beside each other and link them together, and then I'd start to understand what a word meant. But in school, I couldn't do it. So the background was that my lack of ability, if you want to call it, in maths and reading in school was compounded by things going on in the background, bullying, and a teacher that thrived on humiliation, whatever his problem was. So that's the background. So was I stupid? Let's see. The next thing we're going to look at is ability. So I mentioned earlier, maths is not my thing. And they're not. No matter how much I work at maths, I just don't have that ability. And there's another author, I can't remember his name. If anyone does, please put it down in a comment. It's The 7 Types of Intelligences. And mathematics and spatial awareness are not mine. But I do have an ability with reading and writing and comprehension and things like that, and language to a certain degree, and artistic ability. So that wasn't my strength. Does it make me stupid? I didn't fit into that particular system. And just to counterpoint that teacher, I had another teacher years later who really every week patiently, with such care, would go through algebra with me, and I still didn't get it. I would get it there in the moment, and then it would be gone. It was like someone wiped the board and my mind was empty with it. But he really did try. So some teachers are amazing, and I just wanted to say that. So then I carried that thought, because I couldn't do the maths and I couldn't read properly in the class. I carried the thought that I was stupid, until one day I had to question that. So here we have questioning it. Is it true? Was I stupid? And the answer is no. I was never stupid. And I was never thick, or any other label that you'd like to put. But that thought was carrying through with me. And I left school at 15, so I had no formal education. Until later in my 30s, I went to university to do an English degree. And I absolutely loved it. And I love learning. And in my second year, I did an essay. And the particular lecturer was a wonderful lecturer, very intelligent man, but very humble, and really embodied that thing of how to educate, to bring forth, because that's what to educate means, is to bring forth. And he handed me back the results of an essay. I got an A, and he said that this is at master's level. And when I left his office, I could no longer allow myself to believe I'm stupid. I had to see that I had intelligence of a different kind. Sure, I can't do maths, or I'm not great at it, but I have other gifts and other abilities. It didn't make me stupid. And so then I reframed my thinking. And that's this one. You know, you question, am I stupid? Well, this piece here says, this person says yes, all of this other evidence says no. And using these sort of what I call 5-step notes, you can apply this for your own thinking. So look at a particular belief that you have about yourself. You know, even it could be down to something like to do with your weight, how you look, you know, how you respond to things. You know, look at that and then look at what's the background to it. Look at all of your abilities. What are you good at? You know, what are you not so good at? Is it the end of the world? I don't care if I'm not good at maths. I just find things that I'm good at and work with those. I work to my strengths and accept and welcome my weaknesses. It doesn't matter. And then question that belief. You know, really look at the evidence, you know, to see, is it true? And you probably find pretty much every time it's not true. You know, and if you're skeptical and you're kind of going, I'm not buying this, just do a thought experiment and just try it with one thing or two things and see. And, you know, share your experience in the comment below. I'd love to hear it. And then you reframe it. So when I had the thought of I'm stupid, and then I realised, no, and you're not stupid. You can't be. You know, you're getting A's in this, and there were other things that I could see, evidence doing well in work, loads of evidence, and I could no longer believe that. So I reframed it. I'm an intelligent woman who has this ability and this capability, and I use this all the time in my life, you know, and it's an ongoing process. You know, you're not going to do this one time and then suddenly that's it. You know, I like to bring a bit of realism into coaching. But it's a tool. It's a tool that you can put into your wellness toolbox that you can carry with you. So I encourage you to try this reframing process. If you'd like to share your experience or any thoughts on what you've heard in this video today. And I look forward to meeting you at the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.